Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. This Jewish kid once asked his father, "Dad, do we Jews believe in miracles?" And his father said, "No, sonny, we don't believe in miracles. We rely on miracles." The story of Egypt is filled with miracles. 10 plagues, splitting of the sea, miraculous divine intervention. But what's fascinating is, what is the symbol of Passover? If the symbol of Rosh Hashanah is a shofar and the symbol of Hanukkah is a menorah, what is the symbol of Passover? The symbol of Passover is matzah. And the question is, why do we eat matzah? So the Haggadah tells us that when our ancestors left Egypt, they left in such great haste that they didn't have time to bake bread. So all they had was the matzah on their backs. And the question is, why name the holiday? Or why symbolize the holiday? And by the way, it is called in the Torah the holiday of Matzah, Chag HaMatzot. That's the biblical name. But why is the symbol of this holiday matzah, when seemingly matzah was just due to the fact that they were rushing to go out and they didn't have enough time to bake bread? It sounds like a technical difficulty. Why name the holiday after a technical difficulty that they didn't have time to bake bread and they had to bake only matzah? Furthermore, why couldn't God give them another hour or two? They were in Egypt for hundreds of years. Why couldn't they have a late checkout? Why did they have to rush? And perhaps there's a fascinating lesson here. You see, what the Torah is teaching us is that God will make great miracles in your life, as He did for our ancestors. But you have to seize the opportunity when the moment arrives. When freedom was available, the Jews didn't procrastinate. They didn't delay. They didn't say, we'll go a little later. We'll do it tomorrow. They immediately jumped at the opportunity and fled from Egypt. As soon as the door was open for them to go, they didn't even wait to bake bread. They left barely just with matzah on their back. And the lesson in life is that all of us need to attain freedom and happiness in our lives. And the Torah is teaching us a very important lesson of how we achieve freedom in our lives. We do it by, when we're faced with a challenge, acting in the present, doing it immediately, not waiting for miracles. We don't rely on miracles, despite what that father jokingly said to his son. We act, and then miracles occur in our lives. The story of the Jewish people and the existence of Jewish people is replete with miracles, but equally with Jews taking action for their own self-preservation, determination, continuity, and acting immediately with alacrity and rising to every challenge in every circumstance. And the combination of miracles and action is what equals freedom. Not just for our ancestors, but this is what the Passover lesson is teaching us in our own personal lives. If we delay and we say tomorrow or later or some other time, we will never achieve freedom. Only if we do what the Jews did, which is immediately rise to the moment and act and leave and act on achieving freedom with speed and with haste, that's when we achieve true freedom. Last night at our Solomon Leadership Program, one of our members, Dr. Moshe Paris, spoke to the students. And besides being an incredible infertility doctor with a large practice helping many young couples realize their dreams, he is a part of history, because in 1976, on July 4th, as an Israeli student, he got on a plane to go to New York to study in medical school, to go get an education. And of course, that was the plane where on July 4th, 1976, in Greece, terrorists got on the plane and took all the passengers hostage, and then released the non-Israelis and held the Israelis in Uganda. And we all know the incredible raid of Entebbe, which he spoke about. And he spoke about something miraculous that happened. He said they took them to Uganda, and they took them to an old terminal in Uganda that was not operational. But believe it or not, that terminal was a terminal that was built by an Israeli company. And Israel had all the blueprints, all the plans of that terminal. So the soldiers were able to build a model of that terminal and practice, knowing every entranceway, every doorway, every point of entry. And therefore they were able to fly 14,000 miles under the cover of darkness, land in the middle of the night in Uganda. And then with army and Rolls Royce, or the car of Idi Amin, come into the old terminal and take out all the terrorists and release the Israeli passengers and bring them back to Israel in freedom. What a miracle, he said, that from all the countries in the world that they flew them to the one country and to the old terminal that happened to be built by an Israeli, allowing for this miraculous, supernatural salvation and courageous raid on Entebbe. That's the miraculous in the story. That's the hand of God. But at the same time, he said, it was the courageous soldiers who rose to the occasion, who volunteered to go on this mission. He talked about how tragically Yoni Netanyahu, the brother of Bibi Netanyahu, was the leader of this operation, and he died in the operation. And Moshe Perez talked about flying back to Israel with all the hostages and the body of Yoni Netanyahu lying on the floor on the plane, and how on the one hand he was so happy to be released and saved, but at the same time he said, how can I be happy when this young man gave his life for me? That's the story of the Jewish people. Miracles, but combined with action and with courage. Yesterday we had a whole day of symposium, of summit on countering anti-Semitism.